Hi there, Cosmic Family. My name is Yael. In this incarnation, Venus entered Libra today, October 13th until November 6th. Venus is the planet of desire, of how we are relating with ourselves and with other people. In fact, that is a very connected dynamic. We are going to receive reflections of, things that we are sustaining through the mirrors in the outside. It is the planet of that represents what we value. And Venus in here acquires this focus on beauty, on the harmony, on being able to look at situations that perhaps require mediation, taking in account the perspectives of the parties that are participating, so we can create, more fair agreements. Libra rules represents the justice understood as a balance, as an energetical balance. And even though this thing of beauty could seem to be superficial, when we can take care, when it comes to take care of ourselves, of wanting to look and feel in harmony with oneself, or the aesthetics of a space, for oneself but also for other people, so they can be in a pleasant space that invites to enjoyment, which is also Venus. When this is expressed in a balanced way, it has a very luminous intention. I mean, it's one of the functions of many forms of art to contribute with beauty to the world. Venus also rules Taurus, which is a sign of Earth. And if you have the opportunity to be or to create a garden, with certain design, with certain kind of plants and flowers, that is beautiful. This does become superficial when we are carrying much more of the shell than the content, when the focus is much more deposited in what others are perceiving than in how we are feeling internally, in what truly brings inner peace beyond the external desire or the perception of others. There is when the energy is distorted and could be this excess of focus in how other people are perceiving us, a way of compensating an inner imbalance that cannot be compensated that way, because in the end that means that there is a seeking of covering up a void through external validation, and that is not going to be enough ever, doing that from that space. But nowadays we can see this in some people that perhaps are going to extremes with cosmetic surgery and that kind of things. But in other aspect, this Venus, when it is integrated, possesses these qualities of consideration of other people, of what is fair, what is reciprocal in relational dynamics. But also it is important to have in account this necessary balance of not annulling our own desire, because desire in its most purest and genuine state, it is the desire of growth, of a spiritual growth of the soul. So one thing is to learn to be flexible and to negotiate in certain circumstances that truly needs, we are requiring to find this middle point with other people so we can all move forward. But different is to put aside our essential values so we can avoid a conflict that is going to produce, greater imbalances inside. And also other shadow of Venus in Libra could be hypocrisy. I think this is the expression in English, to pretend to be liked, to sustain a moral or social mask that is far away from what we truly feel or think, so we are not, producing discomfort to other people. But in these days that we are experimenting this opposition with Neptune retrograde in Aries, this is in addition, because yesterday I talked about this. If you are connecting with new people and new opportunities, it is a key to listen to the intuition, because this transit in its shadow, could be this opportunity of investment, for example, and later is a fraud. Not because you have to condition yourselves to think about this or for this manifestation. Let's remember that astrology is to make a lecture, to understand our situations, not to blame astrology for everything that is happening to us, because that is keep putting the power outside, and it is our decisions, the ones that are creating reality. But These kind of situations that respond to the aspects of shadow of Neptune, they are truly testing us, because when we are, approaching something that seems to be very beneficial, like more with the tendency to be surreal, disconnected from Earth. Perhaps that could reflect that there is a seeking of material benefits or emotional benefits in relationships that are emerging from wanting to cover up this inner void, and not truly from sharing, for example, or generating those resources at the service of a transcendental growth, because Neptune is the planet that represents that spiritual connection in its most elevated states. And that is something that we infinitely are discovering, in our processes, individual and collectives. Neptune also involves that we can collaborate, with other people, that goes beyond the benefits of the ego, that comes from this sensitivity and this willing of giving, of surrendering to a higher purpose. But well, in this way of learning of the energy of Neptune, it could appear these illusory states that later we discovered that they weren't real, because they responded to something that we wanted to believe, to idealization as an escapism of something that is hurting, or creating a distorted reality so we are not facing what is. Or this contribution with other people in imbalance ends up being a renouncement to our inner voice to sustain those relationships, or to help, with quotation marks, to other people, but from a space where we are feeling this energetical drain, and it is preventing us from growing, and therefore we are not contributing with the growth of others. In other perspective, this opposition could be facing with having to make choices that are truly aligned with those things that we value, that, deep down, it is the light. So the light is acquiring different forms in the process. That's why the desire is changing, because the more that we can develop maturity in terms of spirituality, the more the desire is elevated. The other day, I put the example, of relationship, of desiring someone that can bring, the plenitude and the happiness. But when we are able to cultivate that for oneself, the desire is changing to wanting to share that we are bearing inwards. So with this, it is important to not understand plenitude as this fixed emotion of happiness, because that is not real. But I am referring to a path of reencounter with oneself, with our function, that is going to make it easier being able to enjoy most of the things that we do in our daily lives. And the rest is coming through the things that cosmos bring to us, through the opportunities that cosmos brings. But what I was trying to transmit, it is that this tension could imply certain level of confusion or lack of clarity, which is other shadow of Neptune, at the time that we have to make decisions. Also the energy of Libra, it is also known in its shadow in astrology for indecision. But again, we are responsible of our own processes. And it is not truly that we don't know what we want. It is not that we cannot listen to our voice of the intuition, but many times there could be aspects of us that are creating barriers to connect with that desire, to connect with the voice of the soul. And it is very frequent that when that chaotic confusion is manifested, overthinking too much options that aren't is not making us feel good, and creates this illusion of no sense. It is very frequent that behind that there is a resistance to something that we know already that we have to decide. It is just probably that the decision implies to let go of an old form of operating in the experience, or letting go of an aspect that have accompanied us till this point. And this is an invitation to surrender to the mystery of life. Thank you, everyone. See you in the next video. Ciao, ciao.